Hello guys, welcome back to another cozy little book video. This is going to be the last book video of 2024, which is such a crazy thing to say. Like, I feel like January was just yesterday and now it's right around the corner. Like it's literally next month, which is insane. Anyway, but if you haven't noticed, or if maybe you're new here, I have changed a few things on my channel and we are incorporating more of like a cozy vibe to the channel, which I'm excited to bring for 2025. Something different. I have been doing YouTube for about 2 years now. So I thought, you know what, let's do something a little bit different for 2025. And that is to make it a bit more of a cozier space. I'm also going to do a lot more book related content as well as cozy content. If you are new here and that sounds like a good plan to you and you want to be a part of it, then please hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. So for today's book video, I'm actually going to be talking about all of my top reads for 2024. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be all about basically my 4/5 star reads. So anything in that area. And a lot of these are actually just 5 stars because I was obsessed with them. Now, unfortunately, there isn't many of them, which is a little bit sad. I had a lot of I didn't have like a great year with reading this year. I am going to be honest. I read a lot, which is great. But at the same time, a lot of those books were like 2 stars. I think my average for this year was actually 2 stars, which is kind of sad. So when I picked up a book and it was a 5-star read, it made me so excited. So I'm going to run through them, not in any particular order. I am just going to get it done and share the most amazing books that I've read this year. Last Christmas, my amazing husband wrapped 24 books for me to open as an advent calendar. Now, in those books, I got the Curse of True Love series and blew my mind. I read it so quickly. So the first 5-star we have is the last book in that series, which is A Curse for True Love. And this book, just to wrap up the end of the series, was amazing for me. I loved this series so much. I gave it to my sister. She loved the series so much, she's going to give it to my mom. So that is how that went. But this world is just something else. Like, I want to be a part of it so badly. And every time I picked up this book, I was just truly transported into that world. Like, I just wanted to dive in there, you know? Anyway, I love our characters in this book. The last few chapters of this book with everything wrapping up was amazing and I just loved it. And like the last couple lines of this book I remember being obsessed with, finding out about like the apple, which was something that I loved. I loved this apple thing. More to, maybe not more to the stories, but more to the Magnificent North. So I have to read more of her books. But if you have not picked up this series, definitely go pick it up. There is a few more I've got hanging around. Once Upon a Broken Heart, that's what the series is. Once Upon a Broken Heart series, sorry, because that's the first book. And then it goes into the Cursed True Love ones. Anyway, but if you have not picked up this series and you like fantasy and you also like romance, pick up these books because they're great. They don't have a lot of romance in them at all. It's just kind of a back and forth between our 2 main characters. So you know they have something for each other, but it doesn't happen for a very long time. So if you like that subtle romance, also if you love fantasy in not like the dragon fourth wing type of fantasy, if you're not into that, but more into like potions and magic and pretty little fairy lands and princesses and princes, then you will love this. Yeah, that's all I have to say because this was a 5-star read for me and I want to read it again. The next book I picked was another fantasy book just because it was blowing up and going viral everywhere. I had to read it, and that is Fourth Wing. Now, it took me a long time to get into this book, as in to finally purchase the book and to read it. But when I did, my world changed. This book for me, without a doubt, was a 5-star read. I couldn't put it down. I read it so quickly. I actually read it first on my Kindle. That's probably why it's not pre-loved. So I haven't actually read this book that's in my hands, but I knew I needed to get it as a physical copy so I could put it on my shelf. A lot of people do say it is quite steamy, but for me, I really didn't get much of that. And I mean, if you ever do in a book and you don't like it, skim over it. But I don't think you should drop a book just because it has some steamy scenes. Like, sure, maybe it has a chapter or two, or it alludes to it, or whatever. I'm just not that type of person that thinks that you should stop reading a book just because there might be a couple of spicy scenes. Just skip over it if you don't want to read it. You can generally tell what's about to happen anyway. Okay, so I'm going to just tell you everything that I loved about it. So I love the school and I do enjoy the world as well, I will say. I want to be a part of this school. I think it's amazing. Just envisioning it in my head was quite honestly what is in the map. So that was kind of cool. I think Rebecca does such a good job in just describing everything so you have a really clear vision and understanding in your mind and you can just imagine it, everything. I love the training in this. Like, I love a good training scene. Even in Throne of Glass, like, I love a training scene. Give me something where the people are struggling and then the next time they do it, they're good at something. I love choosing the dragons and the dragons choosing them. I love just everything. The romance in this book was great. The banter in this book was great. The friendships in this book was great. I loved that it's about dragons and you're learning more about them. Yeah, I loved this book. How this book ended as well shocked me to my core. So of course I had to read the next book, which I've all of a sudden forgot what it's called. I had to read the next book, and of course Onyx Storm is coming out in January as well. So I'm excited to see what happens to everybody. But yeah, love Fourth Wing, cannot get enough of Fourth Wing, would highly recommend it. Okay, so from now on, going in no particular order because I can't remember what I read, but I know that I read those in January and February. So I might actually start with our little novella of Powerful. If you have not read the Powerless series. So Powerless is first little spin-off called Powerful, which is about Adina. And so there's Adina and Payton is our main character in the Powerless series. And Adina is her best friend. So this book actually just follows Adina and her life. And yeah, I loved this book. I read it so quickly, of course, because it's only small. But yeah, I truly did love this book. I just really appreciated all that Adina is. I love her and I love that she's more of the quiet one, the more artistic one. And I think I liked it so much because it kind of resonated a little bit more with me, where she's not like Payton. She's not like the girl that is center stage of everything and who fights all the time and who wants to win at everything. She's the girl that just sits and sews and does her work and is praised by her friends and that's about it, you know. Anyway, but this is a little bit of a romance as well because we meet a character called Mac and he changes a lot of things for Adina. I really hoped that Mac was going to be in our next book, which was Reckless, but he didn't show up, which is okay. So hopefully he's in the next one, which is also coming out next year. So I'm super excited for that as well. Anyway, but I liked this book. If you haven't read the Powerless series, you need to because you were missing out. It's a little bit of a mix of like the Hunger Games and if the Hunger Games had special powers, basically. So it is like a death game that they're going into, but everyone has a special power. But Payton, which is our main character, she doesn't have a special power. So this is going to have to be super fast because this is dying. So the next one is A Funny Story. This is of course written by Emily Henry, who we love so much. She's pretty much my favorite author. Anyway, so this one was a 5-star. This is a very fun little adventurous read that I did enjoy. So we have Daphne and Miles. They are our main character. Now both Daphne and Miles got dumped pretty much on the same night. And both of their partners got together. So poor Daphne had to move out of her house that she was living with her partner. And Miles was like, well, now I need someone to take up my rent because now my girlfriend's gone. So Daphne moves in with Miles, and it's a whole adventure. And of course it's a romance book, but Emily Henry always adds a lot more in-depth life stuff into her books. So anyway, if that sounds like something you would enjoy, a bit of romance and a bit more adventure of two unlikely characters falling in love, then this one is a great read for you. My fifth favorite book for the year is Dishonestly Yours. Now, I had never read anything by these two authors who are sisters, and not only sisters, but twins. I had never read anything by them at all. I had heard things of their Addicted series, which I ended up reading the first book of that and hated it, so I'm not reading the rest of the series. But this book, 5-star. I read it so quickly. I was already kind of intrigued, and honestly, the cover intrigued me the most, but I just absolutely adored this book. So we have two best friends, who I never remember their names. We have two best friends, one who is Phoebe. Now, Phoebe and her best friend and their families combined to become con artists, basically. They have always grown up poor. They've always lived in motels from time to time. They've never had good quality stuff. So they came together and decided, yep, we're going to be con artists. But Phoebe and her friend are wanting to get out of that life. So they decide to just move away, to run away and to move far away. Haley, which is Phoebe's friend, her brother Rocky ends up coming with them. He kind of just shows up. And Rocky has also been a part of all of these cons as well. It's kind of about their life in this new setting where they are just trying to be themselves in this new environment that they've never been a part of. But can they really escape being con artists? That's the question. The fact that this is not just a general romance book, it's so much more than that. I think that makes it super interesting, and I think these days is kind of what I need in a romance book. If I'm picking up a romance book, I need a lot more than just the romance element. So I think having that, the fact that they're con artists and they're trying to escape that and trying to have a new life, and the fact that they can just rob people so easily without even questioning it. Anyway, I just love that. This next spot holds a special place in my heart because I love her so much, and that is Miss Daisy Hates. Now, the Magnolia Parks series is something else. Magnolia, I don't like at all. She annoys me so much. But Daisy, on the other hand, and her life, I love so much. And I feel like Dishonestly Yours and Daisy Hates kind of go together, because Daisy Hates is very mafia related, and Dishonestly Yours is like con artists and stuff. So kind of like same. The Great Undoing of Daisy Hates. Now this is the second book to Daisy. So it goes Magnolia, Daisy, Magnolia, Daisy, Magnolia, and then she hasn't released the Daisy one yet. Anyway, so Daisy had tried to, I really don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't read this series. But anyway, Daisy had tried to run away from her crime life, but has now come back to it. And she's under a watchful eye of her brother Julian and her ex-boyfriend. Anyway, the thing I liked about Daisy is quite literally everything. Yeah, I like the boyfriends that Daisy has. I like Daisy's personality, but I also like the fact that we learned so much about Julian in this book and how he has to just really take control of everything and kind of like, well, I'm the big brother, but I'm not only the big brother to Daisy, I'm the big brother to so many other people. So I love that this book really dived into his life as well and how different it is to Daisy and why he makes certain decisions. Haven't read, it's not like you really need to read both of them to know what happens. I think you can just read one of them and kind of figure out what happens. If you really want the full picture, then of course read both Magnolia and Daisy. But Daisy's the better one in my opinion. Now this is a little bit of an odd one for me, but it was in my little Christmas advent calendar that my husband did. So I read it, trusting his opinion of this book. and decided to read it and see what happens. But this one is Whisper Network. And I honestly didn't really know what to expect, but it turned out to be a 5-star for me. And like, you haven't probably heard of this book at all, like it's not anywhere, but I loved this and really raved about this book. So this book is a bit of a murder mystery. It follows 4 women who are in like a law firm? Yeah, who are in a law firm, and their CEO is dead. And somebody murdered him. So we're kind of following all 4 women and their stories and their opinions of this man. Anyway, it was so good, and how it just wrapped up at the end was great, but not one to really read a murder mystery book. I read this one and I read The Handmaid's Secret, both this year. I really loved both of them. But this one just came through for me and ended up being a 5-star. I love a bit of a murder mystery, and especially following 4 different characters. This one was really fun. Now, the very, very last book of my 5-star reads, which I am currently also reading a book by the same author at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see if it will be the last one, but it will be the last one for this video. I picked up Laurie Gilmore's series of The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore and The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I finally got my hands on those books and I could not put them down. I read them so quickly and I love them. So I did read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. That's the first one in the little series. The next one is The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and I think I really enjoyed The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore a little bit more than The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, but both were very high up on my ratings. Now, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is a cutie, and I love these books because they are so easy to read. You just read them in no time at all. I love Dream Harbor. Dream Harbor is such a cute town. I want to be a part of it. I love The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I love the cafe. Like, I want to go to these places in real life. I just think it would be such a cute little town. It also really reminds me of Gilmore Girls. So if you're a fan of Gilmore Girls, I'm sure you will love this series. But in The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, we have our bookstore owner, which is Hazel, and she's been left all of these little clues. And she's almost turning 30, and she's like, well, all these little clues are trying to help me live my life a little bit more. So she decides to follow the clues with this friend of hers, this guy friend that she kind of hates, but doesn't really hate that much. His name is Noah. Anyway, so the 2 of them come together, and Noah kind of helps her to achieve these clues and to basically live a little. So it's a little bit of a romance as well, which is always fun. But yeah, that was the last one for my favorites in 2024. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I've loved creating these book videos, and as I said, next year, 2025, I'll be bringing a lot more book videos your way. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in 2025. Bye!